All right, welcome back to Unpacking KP Reddy. This is my opportunity to ask KP, what were you thinking when you posted that on LinkedIn? You know KP Reddy. If you don't follow him on LinkedIn, you should be KP Reddy, Reddy, on LinkedIn. Lots of insightful posts every day on LinkedIn, all about innovation, AI, different aspects of the direction, the technology that shapes the built environment. You probably don't know me. My name is Jeff Eccles. I'm a senior advisor at Shadow Partners, and this is my opportunity. Like I said, once a week I get to sit down and ask KP about a post from LinkedIn. So KP, welcome. Thanks for joining me
Hey,
again today.
good to see you.
Going really well. Good to see you. We actually we did a version of this last week where we were sitting side by side in the same room. That was pretty bizarre.
Yeah, we didn't know what to
And
do. We didn't know whether to look at the screen or look at each other. It was very weird.
exactly.
It was very
It was
uncomfortable.
weird. It was very strange.
I prefer
You know,
doing it
we,
this way.
well, yeah. So this way, how many miles away are we? 1,000 miles away or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, so we were in Miami last week. We did a couple things there. We had five of our startups that are part of our startup incubator ecosystem. They pitched at the Morrissey Goodale M&A and Business Symposium down there in Miami, and then we had an in-person meetup for our innovation leaders mastermind group. And I think part of this post that we're about to unpack sort of harkens back to that experience last week. Um, so let me start by reading it. It's a little bit long, but I'm going to read through the whole thing, and then we can go back through it and unpack it whatever way that we want to. So it starts out Sunday Scaries, first cup of coffee edition. This is what KP wrote. I spent the last week with startup founders and AEC innovation executives. So Miami last week. Here are a few takeaways. Number one, you can be great at storytelling, but you need to make sure that you actually have a compelling story to tell. Fair enough. Number two, build a Venn diagram to understand what your true differentiator is. Start with yourself, then with your company. Number three, spend more time outside of industry events. I have been glowing this week from the NVIDIA Developer Conference content. What was your key takeaway? Number four, Miami is a fun city. Not sure if I could live there. I saw more rain in Miami last week
That is
than
funny.
I've seen.
A lot more rain and
And
small dogs.
this is absolutely true. Number five, public startup pitches are tough. Yes, they are. Number six, look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Who said this? I know who said this. Number seven, focus, forwardness, and follow up from events. Focus on a few strong relationships, be forward with your ask, and aggressively follow up from events. Number eight, how aggressive? When my kids played competitive soccer, they got $50 for every yellow card and $100 for every red card.
$100.
Strive.
Actually, minus $100.
Oh, minus. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry,
minus
minus. So
100. Yeah.
$50 for every yellow card and minus $100 for every red card. So how much do they still owe you?
They owe me the rest of their lives. So. No, they actually, but I'll tell you, they got good at like not getting, they got yellow cards, but they didn't get red cards.
That's good. So they were aggressive, but not
Aggressive,
overly
testing the
aggressive.
boundary of the referee, right? Like that's what
Sure.
it is, right? It's
Yeah.
somewhat subjective. So you
Hmm.
do have to get comfortable testing the boundaries and adjusting
Yeah,
appropriately.
absolutely. So that you in that want to strive for yellow cards. Number nine, shout out to Jordan Wilson for being such a great resource for the AEC and startup community. Yes, big thanks to Jordan. He hosted us for lunch, our founders and our um, innovation leaders. So thank you, Jordan. Number 10, if you haven't watched the movie Air, I highly recommend it. If you are a Gen X person like me, the soundtrack is great and nostalgic. And number 11, what was the first concert that you went to? Mine was Rush, says KP. So there you go. 11 points from the Sunday Scaries first cup of coffee edition. Um, Where do you want to start? You want to go all the way through, or do you have favorites in
Well,
there?
I think obviously we always have kind of limited time, but I think the aggressive thing is super interesting,
Yeah.
because I think it applies not just to startups; it applies to engineering firms or corporates as well, right? Like I don't want to be too salesy. I don't want to be too, I don't want to be too insert the blank,
Hmm.
right? And I think it's not your choice, right? You have to be as aggressive and be a good listener and react appropriately. It's like I said with my kids, like playing soccer, like yellow cards are okay, red cards are not okay,
Hmm.
right? And if you're not getting a yellow card, you're not trying hard enough,
Right.
right? So you don't want to push somebody to the point where they're like, just unsubscribe. I'm tired. Like you don't want to piss people off, but you do want to be challenging, right? When they say,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is not a great time," you don't just hang up. You say, "Hey,
Right.
well, when is a great time?" Right?
Hmm.
And like, well, I don't know. Like, well, can I send you a text and can we figure it out? Do you have an assistant? And I think people forget that aggressiveness is a signal and a bit of I would say it's part of being passionate. It's part of caring. Like when you're pissed off about solving a problem and you're trying to like solve for it, aggression is kind of an indicator that you are actually doing the work.
Yeah.
If you're super passive, you may not believe.
Hmm.
You may not believe. And if you don't believe, the market, the customers, all of it figures it out, right? And
Yeah.
so I think, I've been definitely more than once been told I'm too aggressive. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I give a shit. Like, if you don't give a shit, that's cool. Like, I don't have to talk to you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hang out with the people that do give a shit. So
Hmm.
sorry, and I think there's not enough of that. And part of
Hmm.
progress in moving markets and showing leadership is just that. It is,
Hmm.
you have to show it's an early indicator of success.
Hmm.
There's very few passive founders that have
Right.
been successful.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good lesson, and we see this all the time in our startup incubator. And one of the first things, whether it's my grad students or it's our actual incubator, one of the first things that I say is, if you get to the end of this and nothing has changed, there's a problem, right? You came into this with an idea, and you have to be, we talk about in the incubator, you're pushing the founders to make 100 cold calls, or whatever metric is out there, but be aggressive about having these conversations, and then adapting and adjusting to what you're hearing, what you're learning. And so if you started here on day one, and at the end of the incubator, whenever you graduate out, essentially, if you're in the same spot, there's a problem. You were not aggressive. You did not go after. You did not adjust and adapt. Um, so I think I like that idea, because we've had founders before. In fact, I was had a conversation earlier this week with a pair of co-founders from a past cohort
Mm-hmm.
that have almost radically changed what they've worked on,
Mm-hmm.
but they are finding success because they have been aggressive. They're part of their legend is at Shadow Summit back in October in Atlanta. They were having so many conversations, and they weren't being obnoxious or anything like that. That's why they were there, to have these conversations with presumably their ideal customer profile. They actually followed someone into the restroom to say, "Hey, can we have a minute?" Not in the restroom, but can
Mm-hmm.
can we grab a minute of your time? They were aggressive about that. They got a yellow card, right? That's their legend. They got a yellow card for following someone into the restroom, but they didn't get a red card for cornering them in the stall. So
Mm-hmm.
that was good.
Yeah. No, and I think that's I don't know. I think, as an investor, I have to look at early indicators of success and you start to see a pattern of what that is. And it's not that day one, everybody has it in them. but they might be a little bit standoffish, especially if they came from a corporate environment.
Mm.
They might feel like aggressiveness is for salespeople. God forbid someone be a salesperson, right? But I think it can be a learned behavior. And what I always tell people is like, if you actually care about what you're building, you will have zero issues unleashing kind of those aggressive traits. And
Yep.
if you don't, you might want to question, are you working on the right thing?
Yep. Yeah. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, says that every step forward is a vote for your new, fill in the blank, your new business, your new life, etc. And if you believe, right, if
Right.
if this is something you care about, you're going to keep taking those steps forward, right? You're going to be aggressive about moving forward. You have to be.
Yeah.
You have no choice.
100%.
So one of the things that we talked about a little bit was the NVIDIA Developer Conference. You want to unpack that?
Yeah, I think
that point?
we all get very myopic into what we're working on, and I think there was a follow-on post. People asked me like, "What conferences am I going to?" And I was like, "Well, I'm kind of focused on either tech or kind of broad market, customers." And I think in the broader market of what we look at in our day job is that ultimately it's the developer owner that pays for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not educating the owners and developers about innovation, it's a missed opportunity. So, I think, this fall, we're doing this AEC zone thing at CRE Tech, which has never been done, which is all about putting architects, engineers, and contractors in front of the developers and owners and asset owners to show off what they're innovating.
Mm-hmm.
Engineers and construction companies and architects can talk about, oh, we're so innovative. I'm like, great. I'm going to put you in front of your customers and you show me how innovative you are, right? Like, show me how you can pitch. And I've had some of these AEC firms goes, you want us to stand at a booth and pitch?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Someone literally said that last week.
right, if you want to make a difference, you will. If you don't want to make a difference, go turtle up somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm focused on those areas: asset owners, investors, kind of at a broad infrastructure investors, and on the others, just pure play tech. So whether it's the NVIDIA Developer Conference, I'll probably go to Dreamforce because Salesforce is doing just so many things with AI, and I've got a great relationship with the C-suite there, so they're a bit insistent that I come. But I think that I'm not going to go to the rest of them. It's just I don't get the point. It's just really. I know post-pandemic, I went to a Built Worlds conference, and it was fantastic because I hadn't seen anyone for 2 years.
Yeah.
So it was like meeting up with old friends in one place, one plane ride, 2 hotel nights. I got to meet up with everyone. But then at some point, a lot of these, Autodesk University, I stopped going to Autodesk University 5 or 6 years ago. There's nobody new to meet.
Yeah.
There's no new narratives. It's the same old, same old. So I think it's like, in a world of resource constraints, both on time and capital, it's really important. That's why I started going to South by Southwest several years ago. I didn't go this year. You have to take a break from the TechCrunch Disrupt stuff, the YC demo days. I think there's just a lot of stuff outside of our industry that we should be spending time at. By the way, not every event is about networking. Sometimes it's actually about learning.
Yeah.
God forbid. Right? So that's why I've just been, the NVIDIA Developer Day stuff was just such a massive learning experience. And if you're not watching and rewatching everything that they talked about, you shouldn't even be in technology. How can you not? It's one of those shame on you moments. AI narratives, NVIDIA narrative, and you didn't invest. I've probably invested 10 hours into it already, and I'm still not done, right?
Yeah.
That is your job, is to keep up with these things. How can you not keep up with these things?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going to go to AU and hear about the latest BIM update that whatever Autodesk terribly made. Who cares? Who cares about that?
Or bought. Yeah.
Yeah, or bought, right? Who cares?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. We often hear that the value of the conferences in the corridors, which there's a lot of truth to that, right? The networking piece of it. But to your point, when NVIDIA or somebody has one of these conferences, they're rolling out the future,
Mm-hmm.
and what better place to learn about it? And NVIDIA's, there's just been a lot of incredible news coming out of there the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
from their CEO. Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or would you just let it slip by? You said
So it's so funny. My wife's actually from Michigan,
that.
and
Shoot, 8 Mile.
so I give her a hard time about Eminem, which I like
Yeah.
Eminem enough, but I'm like, oh yeah, Michigan, you guys produced Eminem, Kid Rock, and Ted Nugent, fantastic. She's like, that's what you're. I was like, oh, and Madonna, that's what you're honing in on. What about Motown? I'm like, that's not. I can give you a hard time about that. Like, I can give you a hard time about Motown, but I can about Kid Rock and everyone else that you guys produced. But yeah, no, I think that ties into the demo day. Like, I think it's tough because we had like 100 executives in the room.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that those startups, that was their shot.
Mm-hmm.
That was their shot in front of that group. These people are busy.
Yeah.
They don't have time, right? So either you were impressive and just like, they were like, holy crap, like I need to meet you, or they didn't. And that was your shot with, I mean, and that's one audience, right? That's one audience.
Yeah.
And that's why we're a little bit particular about some of the startups that like that didn't align with engineering executives. Like, hey, don't spend the money and time to fly into Miami, because even if you do a great pitch, they're not going to know what they're not going to know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that we're not a little bit particular. We are particular, but the point is not that they shouldn't be pitching or not that they're not worthy of pitching. The point is, I'll find another opportunity for you to pitch
100%.
to an audience that has a better alignment, and we've already done that with a couple because, and that's also a good segue. Maybe this is a shameless plug, but Friday. So as we're recording this 2 days from now, we will have our virtual demo day where all 9 of the founder teams from this cohort of our startup incubator will be pitching virtually inside. Well, if you're watching this right now, right here inside the community. So join us Friday at noon Eastern, and you'll see pitch after pitch after pitch, 5 minutes to pitch, 5 minutes for Q&A. You'll see those that pitched in Miami, and then you'll see those that didn't, mainly because it just wasn't the right audience for them.
But we're gonna have, I mean, we're gonna have so many opportunities, whether it's virtual or in person, for our startups to get their word out. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we're going to roll into a season of monthly virtual pitches, and then we're also starting to host more and partner on more of these live demo days, these live pitches at different conferences. We've got the ZY Group coming up in Atlanta at the end of May, I think it is. So, and that's another opportunity if you've got an event and you're interested in this, or that's something that we can talk about.
Yeah. All right.
So if if you're not following KP Reddy on LinkedIn, I don't know what to tell you. Why not? KP Reddy, Reddy on LinkedIn. Look for this post. And was there anything else you wanted to unpack from this one? I know we've gone a little bit long.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay. Look for this post. As we're recording this 3 days ago, it starts out Sunday Scaries, first cup of coffee edition. So again, this is my opportunity, my weekly opportunity to ask KP Reddy what inspired him as he wrote this post for LinkedIn. So KP, thanks again for joining me for this. It's fun to do these and fun to get into the brain of KP a little bit.
All right, we'll see you.